I'm holding in this box a year's supply of chicken meat. Hey everybody, welcome back to the homestead. This is Kevin from Traditions Homestead, and today we have gotten in the mail our final batch of broiler chickens for the summer. This will be the last batch that we do before the weather gets too cold and we can't do them over winter. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to do a series, a week by week series of how we raise our broiler chickens so that you can learn, because I know when we first started there was a lot of information out there about when they were real little chicks, and there was information out there about how to butcher them, but everything in between was kind of left up for grabs, I guess. So we're going to do this series where every week we're going to show you how they're progressing. We're going to talk about the successes and failures that we've had for that week, and we're going to show you all of the equipment that we use, why we use the things that we do, and some of the mistakes that we've made along the way. So I just went to the post office and picked up the chicks. They're in this box, but we're not going to open them up just yet. First I want to show you our brooder setup. We do our brooding in one of our barns. This brooder is 10 feet by 10 feet. I have 3 heat lamps. Each of these is a 250 watt bulb. Now this time of year, it is late August. It's still pretty warm outside. And so I only have 1 heat lamp on right now. Now tonight it is supposed to get down into the upper 50s. I may turn a second one on tonight for the overnight hours, but during the day 1 is plenty. Now I have our brooder hooked up on a chain hanging from the ceiling, and this way you can raise and lower the heat lamps according to what you need. I always start, about this high up off the ground. I just kind of guess. But what I'll do is today, as I'm watching the chicks, I'll come out here about every hour or every 2 hours and check on them. And I'll know that if they're all huddled under the heat lamp, that it's probably a little too cool in here. If they're all way up by the edges of the brooder, then I'll know it's probably too warm in here. And if they're all running around active, eating and drinking and everything else, I know we've got it just about right. So that is what we do for the heat lamps. These are really nothing special. These are just, work lamps that we bought at Home Depot, quite a few years ago. Now the one thing that you want to do though is they sell really cheap lamps that have a plastic lamp holder right here. You don't want to get those. Those are not rated for a heat lamp. You need to get the ones that have a porcelain lamp holder so that they can withstand the heat that comes off of the heat lamp bulbs. So they're a little bit more expensive, but if you take care of them, they'll probably last you forever. So again, we have those 3 here. Now, another trick that we learned, or that we started using quite a few years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago already, is when we put water down, we put them inside of these pans. These pans are water heater pans, again, that you can buy just at your hardware store. And this way, when the chicks drink and make a big mess, it stays in this pan and it doesn't get all of their bedding soaking wet. Cornish-rock chickens are messy enough as it is, and we certainly don't need to add a bunch of water to the mix besides. Again, put your waters inside of these pans, and even at a day old, the chicks can jump in and out of these with no problem. If you're worried, just make sure you have enough bedding, around the pan. But we've never had a problem with them being able to get in and out even at a day old. Now, as far as our waterers go, we start them out on these 1 gallon waterers. They're just a basic, gravity waterer that you can buy at your local feed store. And we will use these waterers for the first 3 weeks while they're in the brooder barn area. At first, a gallon of water will last them several days. I change them out every day just because they have a tendency to get the water dirty, but they will not go through this much water very quickly at first. As they get older, by the end, they'll be going through about 20 gallons of water a day for these 50 chickens. So that'll give you some reference about how much they consume. But right now, again, this is just, we have well water, which, you know, is good unchlorinated water. And then what I do is I also add some apple cider vinegar to the water, and I do 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. Now you want to make sure when you're using apple cider vinegar that you get organic, not pasteurized apple cider vinegar. You need to get the stuff that still has the mother on it, because that's where all of the good minerals and vitamins and everything else are in that mother. So you want to make sure that you get the organic apple cider vinegar. Now the next thing that we're going to talk about is the bedding that we use. We use hay for our bedding. I would not recommend using straw, because straw is almost kind of waxy and it doesn't absorb moisture very well. So if you're going to use something like this, you want to use hay. Now a lot of people will use wood chips or wood shavings or something like that, and that's fine, but for us in a space this big, it's just not very economical. I can buy 1 bale of grass hay for about $5 at our local hay supply store, and that 1 bale will be enough to get me through the first 3 weeks of the chicks' lives. So for about $5. Now we have tried wood chips in here. Wood chips, it took about 3 bags just to do the initial bedding in here, and they were $7 a bag, so that was $21. So you're talking 4 times the price of what we spend using hay. And that's a big deal, especially when you're trying to you know, raise meat for yourself and to sell. All of those costs add into that price of the final product. So we've had absolutely no problem with hay. We use just a good quality grass hay. The main thing is to make sure that it's dry, doesn't have any mold or anything like that on it, and that you put it down thick enough that the chicks, you know, as they go to the bathroom, it can absorb it. And then what we'll do is over the next 3 weeks, which is how long they'll be in this room, we don't change out all of the bedding. We'll kind of spot clean. You know, underneath the heat lamps is going to get dirty really fast. Around the pans, by the feeders, that's going to get dirty really fast. So we'll kind of take that area out. But the stuff that is still good around the edges or things, we'll just leave, and we'll just replace the stuff that needs to be replaced. The next thing we're going to talk about are the types of feeders that we use and the type of feed that we feed. We like these long feeders with the individual holes. We use these for about the first week or 2 weeks until the chicks' heads are too big to get through these little holes. So, but when they're first learning how to eat, they have a tendency to make a big mess. They also have a tendency to want to stand in the food if it's an open feeder. So these types of feeders, they can jump on, they can jump over, but they can't get in the food, and very rarely do we even find any poop in the food. It also gives, you know, a good place for each chick to have their own little hole to stand and eat out of, and there's a lot less just kind of bullying from the chicks to try to get their spot to feed. So we have one like this, and then we have one plastic one. I really don't have a preference as to which is better, but you know, whatever you can get, whatever is most affordable is what I would recommend. Now, let's talk about feed. We start them on a chick starter. Now, we opt to use 1 bag of medicated chick starter. There's a lot of misconceptions about what medicated chick starter is, so I'm going to try to clear that up just a little bit. We don't use any antibiotics on our homestead. There are no antibiotics in a medicated chick starter. What is in a medicated chick starter is what's called a coccidiostat. It's a medicine that helps prevent coccidiosis, which is an internal parasite that can very quickly kill your chicks. The chicks are under a lot of stress, being born, packaged, shipped to your homestead, and even if you have great conditions, they most likely already have coccidiosis in them, and that stress can allow it to get out of control very fast. Once one of them gets sick with it, and the others are eating out of the same food and walking in the same environment, chances are they're all going to get sick, and it's a hard thing to treat once they've come down with it. So what we have found is that using 1 bag of medicated chick starter, which lasts them about the first 10 days, has improved our survival rate of our chicks. It's probably doubled the survival rate. When we used to be very against medicated chick feed until we learned more about it. So we used to feed an unmedicated feed, and we would almost always lose, I'd say, 4 or 5 or more chicks in that first week, almost always due to stress and coccidiosis. Since switching to the medicated feed for just that first bag, we very, very rarely lose even 1 chick in that first 10 days. So that's a personal preference that you need to make. We also do put that apple cider vinegar in the water, which a lot of people think helps with coccidiosis as well. But we just want to ensure that, they're going to have the best rate of survival. So again, we do that only for the first batch, so there's plenty of time. Now the FDA says you could do this up to the day of butcher and there's no risk to humans. Now, we don't always buy everything that we read, so that's why we only do the first bag. That leaves about 6 or 7 weeks for that to get out of their system, and there's really no medication in them by the time that we process them. So again, you just want to make sure their feeders are always full. For the first 3 weeks, we feed them 24 hours a day. After 3 weeks, we switch that to a different feeding schedule, and we'll go over that when we get to that point. So that's it as far as equipment. It's really not hard. It's not rocket science to raise chicks. The main thing is keep them warm, keep them with food and water, and keep them dry. And if you can do those things, there should be no reason that you can't be successful raising a batch of chickens. So now it's time to move on to the fun part, and that is getting the chicks out of the box, counting them, and teaching them where their food and water is. So give me 1 second while I go get the box. Okay, so I've got the chicks. Now, I'll tell you, every once in a while, when you get your chicks in the mail, you're going to find a dead one in the box. Either it was one that just didn't thrive from the time it was born, or it got too stressed out during shipping, but it's actually pretty rare. It definitely does not happen every time that we order, so I don't suspect usually that there's going to be a problem, but I will tell you we have found one here and there when we've ordered. Now, we're in no way affiliated with the place that we order from, but I do need to tell you our experiences. We've ordered chicks over the years from quite a few different hatcheries, and we've had varying levels of success with chicks from different places. But the place that we've been ordering from for the last several years, which is by far who we've been the happiest with, is Welp Hatchery. W-E-L-P Hatchery. They're from Iowa. And they ship all of their chicks for free. The shipping is built into the cost, but you'll find that, in all honesty, their chicks are just about the same price as the places that also then charge for shipping. We have had such good success with their Cornish-rock chickens that, in all honesty, we'll never even try another place. This is who we order from, and they are amazing. So this time we ordered 50 Cornish-rock roosters. So these are all males, and We just find that they grow the fastest and the biggest, and we're, processing them before they get to maturity when they would be, fighting and that type of thing anyway. So let's go ahead and open them up and see what we have. And there we go. There's a lot of them. I'll try to do a mental count as I take them out of the box. But let me show you what you should do with your chicks when you receive them in the mail. First of all, obviously you want to get them home from the post office as quickly as you can. Get them out of the box, and that way it reduces the stress, of them being in transit. So these guys were hatched on Monday. It's now Wednesday, and we've gotten them in the mail. So that's pretty amazing that, 3 days ago, this was still an egg. So they get here quickly, and I don't see any dead ones. They all seem very active. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each one out of the box one at a time. When we take it out of the box, we're going to bring it over to the water, and we're going to dip its beak in the water so we can see that it gets a drink, and then we're going to set it down right next to the water, and you can see it's already drinking. This way it knows exactly where the water is, and in all honesty, at this point, water is more important than food. As they start exploring, they're going to find the food on their own. I don't take them over and show them where the food is. I like to leave them in these pans by the water so they can get a good drink. Again, they've been in the mail for the last 2 days, and it's time for them to get a good drink of water. So that's what I'm going to do with each one. Let me do one more just to show you. Got this little guy here, and we're going to just take him, and I just kind of hold him securely. Just put the tip of his beak down in the water till you kind of see him take a drink, and then I just set him right next to the water, and he'll start to drink. This also gives you a good opportunity to just kind of watch their overall alertness, see if there's any problems. You can see these guys are already pecking at the side of the water. They're kind of inquisitive. To me, that says that they're healthy, and they're going to be good, healthy chicks. So I'm going to do that with the rest of these, and then I'll get back with you and let you see them all in here running around. Okay, so I've introduced all of the chicks to their water. It has literally been about 3 or 4 minutes since I put the last one's beak in the water, and you can already see how active they are, jumping in and out of the pans. Again, they have no problem getting in and out of those pans. A couple of them have already found their food, and some of them are way over already in the corner. They're climbing on Sarah's lap as she is trying to record this for me. So, the one thing I didn't talk about, but at this point, when they're so little, they are so susceptible to predators. So if you have neighborhood cats, if you have, a dog that's aggressive, I mean, at this point, they're a chicken nugget. I mean, they would take no effort at all for something to kill. So what we do is, at this point, we keep the door to the brooder shut unless we're out here, even if it's warm. If it's really warm, we'll turn the heat lamp off, but we still will keep the door to the brooder shut unless we're out here. In a few weeks, as they start to get a little bigger, that can change. But, we had quite a problem early this summer in our chicken coop, which is actually attached to this same barn. It's right next door here. We had quite a problem with black snakes getting our chicken eggs. So I'm a little concerned that we may have a problem with them getting in here and killing some of the chicks. We didn't have any problem with that on the first 2 batches of chicks that we did this year, but I'm definitely going to look around and make sure that this is secured and there's no even small holes leading over from the other area to here. So I don't suspect a problem, but it's something that you always have to keep in mind. And no matter how kind of cocky you get, you're not immune to it. We've made that mistake thinking, oh, you know, predators are a problem that other people have, not us. But we have had that problem too. So you can see they're all doing well. I don't see a single one that I'm worried about. I don't see any at all that will, you know, be cause of concern for me at this point. So, you know, one last thing just popped into my mind, sorry, that the apple cider vinegar will help with. There's a condition that baby chicks can get, not just the broiler chicks, but all baby chicks can get, called pasty butt. What pasty butt is they start to get diarrhea, and when they go to the bathroom, it starts to build up on their butt. And over time, it starts to harden and cake on there, and it stops them from being able to go to the bathroom anymore, and they'll die from it. Apple cider vinegar in the water almost 100% eliminates that problem. I'm not exactly sure how, but it does, and as long as you're putting the apple cider vinegar in there, you'll have no problem with that. So just another little tip and another good reason to use the apple cider vinegar. I mean, one bottle of the apple cider vinegar will last you for an entire batch of broiler chickens, and it's not very expensive. So that's it. I think I've covered everything that I need to cover on this initial video. We'll be putting these videos out now every week while the chicks are growing, all the way up to the age that we'll be processing them. So I hope you'll stick along and watch them grow. You'll be seeing them in real time, just as we do. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, if you want to follow along with the rest of the series, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. We sure would appreciate a thumbs up. We are open to any questions or comments that you have. If you have you know, any opinions on anything that I talked about, or have experience in raising chicks yourself, leave that in the comments below. We're always open to learning more things, and we're by no means the final say in anything that we do. So that's it for today, you guys. I thank you so much for stopping by the homestead. And until next time, God bless. Thank you so much for stopping by the homestead today. We really appreciate everybody wanting to be part of our lives.
Join us for new videos every day, Monday through Friday. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button below.
And also, don't forget to check out the videos over here on the side. And until next time, thanks for stopping by the homestead, and God bless.